is just around the corner. Hi everybody, welcome to the county seat. I'm Chad Booth. Today we are going to talk about the elections and voting machines just on the eve of the new elections. They have come a long way and are much different, faster, and more secure than they used to be, but are they worth it? Let's start with a little history about voting machines.
The time to make our voices heard by voting in local elections is here again. But even as people prepare to head to their polling places or mail in their ballots, change is in the air for Utah voters.
For a lot of counties, this will be the last time they use the touchscreen machines that a lot of people are familiar with and the equipment that they use to process the ballots.
After more than 10 years, many Utah counties will be seeing a change as to how their votes are counted on Election Day, as government entities across the state take steps to update voting technology to be faster, more secure, and easier to use. Many will ask why Utah is bothering to update election machines after the state has had a very successful shift in the past few years to voting by mail. But it is in part because of that shift that new machines have become necessary.
Those machines and the equipment that we have is not meant for the vote by mail volume that we have today. As we know, 22 of 29 counties have gone vote by mail, and in fact in 2018 we'll have over 90% of Utah be in a vote by mail county.
The current machines in Utah are over a decade old at this point and were brought in after the infamous hanging Chad problems in the early 2000 elections. Hanging and pregnant Chads made many of the votes cast in states like Florida questionable during an already very close presidential race. A system that could get straightforward answers was needed. And that's when Utah's current touchscreen-enabled voting machines came into play. They made the process more straightforward and provided clear and quick results. However, now that much of the state votes by mail, these same machines are actually slowing down the delivery of those results.
Part of that was, we have a machine that's kind of just a one feed scan, just with the ballots, and that's just not going to do it for a lot of the larger counties.
The new machines are going to cost the state and counties a fair amount of money, but not nearly as much as the previous upgrade cost the state.
A decade ago, we spent about $30 million on purchasing and implementing the new equipment. We are excited today because we know that it's probably going to be just about a third of what it was 10 years ago.
In our panel discussion, we'll dive deeper into how the new machines will affect Utah counties and voters across the state. For the county seat, I'm Malia Stringham.
Hopefully we've laid a good groundwork for you to understand voting machines and what the state is considering. We're going to dive into those details and talk with three experts about voting machines and Utah's future when we return on the county seat.
There's a little place on a Utah map where I was raised, where my heart's at, where the sagebrush grows wild and high, and the stars come out at night. Oh, there ain't nothing like being raised in the basin with a Ute reservation, skiing starvation, that Duchesne County life.
Too often we find ourselves in shoes like these, or these. Wouldn't it be nice to change into something more like this, or this? How about these? Put on whatever shoes you prefer and come to Beaver County. We have exactly the adventure you need to put under them. So the next time you want to change out of these, come to Beaver County where you can jump into a pair of these. Beaver County, Utah. Lace up for adventure.
The Utah Farm Bureau began as a collection of farmers supporting each other to raise the food we enjoy. Today, Farm Bureau membership encompasses everyone, whether ranchers, growers, or just everyday folks like you and me. Members enjoy discounts on items like vehicles and ATVs, or insurance that's very affordable. You don't have to be a farmer to join, and dues are small, but together we make a big difference in keeping our food supply local and abundant. Join Utah Farm Bureau.
Welcome back to the county seat. We are talking about election machines, and joining us for our panel discussion part of the election machine story here in Utah are a couple of clerks who have to deal with them on the receiving end. Ricky Hatch, Weber County Clerk, and the clerk auditor, actually. Marla Young, who's from Box Elder County, is the clerk. First time to our show. Welcome, Marla.
Thank you.
And Mark Thomas, who is the director of the elections in the Lieutenant Governor's office, at least for a couple of weeks.
For a couple more weeks, yes. Moving on after that.
It seems like he's going to walk out of here, and I expect him to tap dance in the hall, but apparently you actually enjoyed your work.
I have. It's great. Great working with the election clerks as well.
I will tell you that both of them sighed in disappointment when I said, well, what do you think about Mark leaving? So you are a very popular person.
Oh, well, that's nice of them. Thank you.
So I guess, you know, I've mentioned to a couple of people that we were going to do a show on election machines and the fact that the state is, you know, in this process of upgrading, and they're going, well, wait a minute. I thought we'd all moved to paper ballots. Why are we even discussing election machines? So being a viewer advocate, I wanted to start our conversation and toss it out there as, why are we looking at paper machines when everybody's trying to do mail-in ballots now?
Well, a couple of things. The equipment that we have now is over 10 years old, and it was meant for just a small amount of paper ballots. And so if you picture kind of someone hand feeding a tabulator and, you know, all night on election night trying to get those results out as quickly as possible. Well, 10 years ago we had probably, you know, this much paper ballots, but now as, you know, 22 counties have gone all vote by mail, over 90% of the voting population is going to be vote by mail. Huge numbers of paper ballots, and those have to be tabulated quickly, and so that's an upgrade there.
So see, now this is something that would never have even crossed my mind, is that paper ballots still require voting machines to be part of the tabulation process. Well, that puts an entirely different spin on this.
It does, and as well as security too. If you think about over the last 10 years where we need to go with security, but with the technology now that we know that's out there, I mean, there's just high-speed scanners that will tabulate those really quick, and we do know, particularly in the last presidential election, there was a concern with how quick, or I should say how slow really the results were coming out after election night, and so this will help, you know, certainly with that, and we just need to upgrade anyway with technology. 10 years is a long time, and our equipment is over 10 years old.
So for you two who are on the end of actually having to run these darn things on election night, what's been the drawback of the current system?
I would say it hasn't been able to be upgraded. Our servers are 12 years old, and the system is on an old antiquated using system, I guess you'd say, and so it hasn't advanced with the times.
So am I right in understanding that the current machines that are out there are not really internet connected?
Correct.
So I guess that takes the wind out of the sails of the president-elect, who said that the elections were all rigged because the systems had been hacked. It'd be pretty hard to hack the current system, wouldn't it?
Oh, it would be really difficult. I mean, you're going to have to try to get physical access to each voting machine to try to, you know, infect it or somehow, you know, hack into it. And with the audits that are done pre-election, post-election, and all of the other security measures, it is really, really difficult to do that. And let's say you accomplish all of that, you got one machine. Now you have to go to all of the other machines in all 29 counties to try to, you know, change the outcome of the election. It's just not likely.
How many machines do you have in Weber County?
650.
180.
Well, you are a smaller
We're smaller.
population county. But I'm just thinking, there's two counties up in the corner of Utah, and between the two of you, you've got, what, 800 machines. I guess that would make it a little difficult.
Yeah.
And on election day, a machine generally only records about 120 votes So you could theoretically impact one machine, but even those machines are sealed with pre-number security seals that are checked before, during, and after Election Day. So we would know if something happened.
Excellent. So help me go through the genesis a little bit, because I was mentioning before we sat down to tape, it just doesn't seem very long ago that I was sticking the punch card in and getting that little needle out and flipping the pages, and that was my voting machine. And that's really been more than 10 years since I was doing that?
It has.
Yeah, so back in 2005, 2006 was when we switched, and this was a lot in part of the problem that happened down in Florida. And we, as a nation, moved more towards touchscreen machines, direct recording devices, DREs, and now with some of the concerns and the trend nationwide is actually reverting back to paper, as a lot of people place a lot more comfort in the paper. So it's kind of come back.
Is that part of what made mail-in ballots become so popular? I know that participation has gone up a lot, has it not?
It has, yeah. The voter participation has gone up really well, particularly in these smaller municipal elections. But yeah, I think people do have some more comfort in having a paper process, and it seems that it's helping with the voter participation, and as well as helping voters to become more informed. As they get their ballot in front of them, they're able to study the issues, look at the candidates, and I think people have really appreciated that.
Well, I've gone almost a minute over on the first segment. Sorry to you folks. We're going to take a quick break on the county seat, and we will be right back with our discussion about election machines. Didn't think it was going to be this interesting, did you?
What would you do with an extra day in Utah Valley? Explore the Wasatch Mountains? Snap a family photo at Bridal Veil Falls. Cool off on Utah Lake or the Provo River. No matter what you're searching for, you can find it in Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
ATV? Check. Four-wheel driving? Check. Bouldering? Check. Mountain biking? Check. Hiking? Check. River rafting? Check. Adventure is about more than just crossing activities off of a list, but hey, if you can find a place that gives you everything you're looking for, all the better. In Emery County, you'll find the San Rafael swell, trails, lakes, and the small-town hospitality you're looking for. San Rafael Country, in the heart of Utah. Visit us and check something off your list.
Look south to adventure. Look south to beauty. Look south to San Juan County. Out here, the road goes on forever, and what you'll find will change how you see the world. Climb on your OHV and discover forgotten landscapes and vistas that challenge the imagination. From Blanding and Monticello to the cliff faces of Monument Valley, we're open and ready for you to explore. San Juan County, Utah's Canyon Country.
Welcome back to the county seat. We're talking about election machines and the fact that many of Utah's counties are switching, and that leaves us on the first question. Not everybody's switching. Is the driver for making this switch? What are the primary drivers for your two counties upgrading?
Well, primarily, we want to have a good, secure system, but for us, it's speed is probably one of the biggest. Speed and flexibility. The ballot design of our new system is phenomenal. It'll give us a lot of options, but as far as speed, we're going to see in the area of processing ballots between a 500% and a 2,000% increase in productivity in speed of processing ballots. It used to take us 300 man-hours to run, for example, November's presidential election, 300 man-hours to process all those ballots. With the new system, it'll take us 15. Just the technology is advanced that much.
So as Mark was pointing out, what you're saying is it wasn't much of an exaggeration to actually put a mail-in paper ballot into the old system. you had to manually feed it into the machine?
One at a time.
How did you tell it to, how did it know to recognize the print form of the ballot? Is it programmable so it knows where to look for the little mark, or?
Yeah, each ballot has timing marks around the edges that can orient the system so it knows where to look for the marks.
What was involved in finding the new system and getting everybody to agree on what they're going to do?
Well, under the statute, it's the Lieutenant Governor's office that puts together a committee. And we had a lot of county clerks. We had some people from the technology sector, as well as the folks from the disability community, to come together and draft a request for proposal. And we completed that earlier this year. We released it. And throughout the summer, we received responses. We had 5 vendors respond, and they came up to the Capitol and kind of demonstrated. We had a lot of people come up from the public and give us their feedback. But ultimately, we got to the conclusion through the procurement process that there was just one company that was going to fit our needs the best, and that was ES&S.
Okay, I actually have one of their orange glasses. I think I got a UAC function at my house.
It changes colors if you put.
So, you know, we talked about security and how hard it would be to hack in, and seeing as people are concerned about that to the old system, how does the new system, if it's all integrated, how do you prevent that from happening?
Well, a lot of it's, you know, the process and procedures that they have in place. You know, Ricky mentioned, you know, kind of the tamper-proof seals and different things like that. ES&S also has some of the latest technology that's able to really do a good job in providing auditing, so that we can ensure that if something does happen, we're able to reconcile that or be able to find it later and say, okay, you know, what's going on here. Those are some of the things that our current system, you know, doesn't do as well. And so that's why you talk about technology being over 10 years old. I mean, this is really exciting for us.
So are the new machines going to be hooked in online at the time they're online taking votes, or are they still separate and offline?
They're separate and offline.
Still separate and offline. In fact, there's 2-factor authentication that occurs at the machines at the polling places, which is a good, strong security. They won't be connected via Wi-Fi or cable or anything like that, as well as the central tabulator at the county offices. Those are still in hardened networks, not connected to the internet.
Okay, so it is secure that way. So you have to physically take even the new machines and get them ready, get them cleared, get them sealed, get like an audit check on them, take them out, place them at the polling place, and then bring them back under armed guard?
We always have two workers at the same time. That anytime a machine's handled or moved, we have 2 workers. When they're stored under a secure location. The interesting thing is those machines are tested right before they go out and then sealed shut. And the first thing the poll workers do in the morning is they verify that seals have not been broken. And that ensures a good chain of command to make sure that that those machines have not been tampered with. And the same process happens at the end of election night when those results are brought back.
So the quicker results, what do you see as some of the drawbacks and problems that are going to come ahead in the future? I mean, okay, I'll pick an example. On a national election, they say, well, they shouldn't be releasing results from the eastern states while the western polls are still open. Do you see that kind of a problem in interstate or intrastate as opposed to interstate with the new technology?
You know, it's always a concern, at least for the Lieutenant Governor's office, if you have 29 counties and they're releasing results at a different schedule. So I know that we try to ensure that, you know, there's some consistency there, but it is difficult because people want results, and we can't hold, you know, someone back that wants to release results while waiting for another county. And so it's just part of the process that we go through in preparing for Election Day and all of the trainings that we do to ensure those get out quickly. But overall, I don't see it as a major issue. We've done a pretty good job over the last decade in getting results out as quickly as we can with the new system of going all vote by mail for almost 90% of the counties. It changes, and so we've had to make some adjustments, and that's why I think we learned from the 2016 election, hey, there's some things we need to do, including getting some new equipment to help speed the process up.
So no results anywhere happen until obviously the polls are closed and the machines go in. Do all the counties close the polls at the same time?
They do.
So they all close the polls at 8 p.m. on election night, but some of them may have some lines. And so that's where, you know, it gets a little tricky sometimes, because if Salt Lake County, for example, has a few huge vote centers, and if they have some lines, but another county, Utah County, is releasing results, you know, we try to minimize, you know, those types of issues. But Utah really hasn't experienced that much, just because now that we go more vote by mail, there'll be less, you know, lines at the polling location. So I think we're moving in the right directions. But we learn every election. There's different things that come up.
Would you ever go back to like sticking the cards in and having my namesake show up on different ballots, little Chads here and there?
Oh, well.
Oh, I'm going to ask you. You've been kind of quiet.
I have been kind of quiet. After, you know, we had 5 amazing vendors come and show us what they have out there, and I'm all for change and anything that can make my life a little easier and a little more efficient. I think we have a great option, and you know, I don't know about those hanging Chads and dimpled Chads and all that kind of stuff. I think we're heading the right way.
We're going to come up with a new name for an inconclusive ballot mark on the electronic ones. Can we get away from Chad? Something like that.
A Harry or something.
All right, well, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with some final thoughts and conclusions here on the county seat. We're talking about elections and ballots and voting machines, and you should make note of this and plan to engage us on our social media. You can go to thecountyseat.tv, that's our website. You can go to the County Seat TV as our Facebook page. We love to hear viewer feedback, and we'd like to hear what you think about this. We'll be right back on the County Seat.
There is a place where looking out means looking in, where an impression lasting only a few seconds will be imprinted on a life forever, where courage is forged and innocence rediscovered, where remembering is rewarding and forgetting unforgettable. There is a place where truth is felt and where seeing is believing. There is a place.
149 million years in the making, dinosaurs once roamed this land. Now they're found at the Dinosaur National Monument. Let's take you beyond the bones. We call it Dinosaur Land. You'll find it offers adventures and sights not seen anywhere else in the world. Come to Dinosaur Land, Vernal, Utah. You'll want to stay forever. The dinosaurs did.
There's more to life than the 9 to 5. There's more to experience than rush hour traffic. And there's more to see than the view from your window. In Davis County, we have over 500 miles of trails to satisfy the most avid bikers and hikers, taking you beyond the ordinary and into a natural world. Pick up your free trails and bikeways maps at any bike shop or city office in Davis County and discover what you've been missing. Davis County, Utah. Eat, stay, play. Learn more at playindavis.com.
All local products have a story of magical places, real people, and delicious recipes spanning generations. So go ahead and discover flavors you've never tasted and friends you never knew you had. Utah's own Discover Local Food.
Welcome back to the County Seat. We're talking about election machines and the upcoming election. We've kind of gone through all the pros and cons. There's one potential pro or con that we haven't looked at. How much is this going to cost to update the machines again?
Well, 10 years ago, I can tell you it cost about $30 million. And so we're excited after going through this procurement that we found that the cost is actually going to be about a third of that. So you're looking at about $10 to $12 million range, depending on how many machines the counties get. So things are looking really good as far as, you know, the overall cost.
Okay, so the general thought, Mark, is, okay, if it's less, can it be as secure?
Well, part of the reason why it's less is not because, you know, they didn't do a good job on security. It's less because we're going to a more centralized system with less polling locations. You don't need as many touchscreens machines that are out there, and as well as just, you know, having the big machines that scan those ballots really fast. You don't have to have one of those at all the polling locations. You can have a centralized one, and so they certainly didn't skimp on the security side. I mean, that was top of mind for the committee as they reviewed each of the vendors.
So from the county side, Marla, did you get any pushback about voting machines? Anybody called up and said, why are we wasting money on new machines? The other ones look just fine.
Not yet.
You're saying I would just put a seed in somebody's mind, huh? Okay, erase that if you live in Box Elder County, okay. Are you going to save you know, if you're going from 300 man hours to 15 man hours, are you actually going to save the cost of those machines over a decade, do you think?
Well, it'll definitely help. The thing is, it still is expensive. For Weber County, it'll be over $800,000 over the next 10 years. Counties struggle to pay. We'll struggle to pay for these. We really need help from the state to help subsidize some of these payments. It was easy 10 years ago because the federal government gave the state a lot of money, and we were able to spend a lot of money and get these new machines. Now that money's not there, and so I think between the state and the counties helping out each other, we'll be in a good position to buy the equipment that we need and maintain it over the next
Does any of that
years.
cost saving roll uphill to the Lieutenant Governor's office?
It really doesn't. You know, the counties are responsible for the elections. They pay for almost all of it. We help out on the voter registration system, but very little comes up to the state.
Are those machines easier to audit?
They will be, yeah, much easier to audit, and that accountability will be something that I know that we'll be really liking as well.
So if you have a message for somebody, we are just a week away from municipal elections. Most people have their mail-in ballots. Hopefully you have filled them in. I just did mine last night and sent it on its way to Sherry Swenson. We'll put a little lipstick mark on it so she knows that I still like her. What's your advice about the importance of municipal elections?
Well, I mean, look, a lot of times the municipal candidates are going to have, in offices, will have a much more of an impact on your life daily than some of the bigger offices. And we have a lot of ballot issues as well that are out on this election. And I encourage people to go to vote.utah.gov. You can see what candidates are on your ballot, what issues are on your ballot, and if you haven't received your ballot, double check with the county clerk, see if there's something going on, but get it in before Election Day. It has to be postmarked before Election Day.
Okay, it has to actually have been to the post office on the 7th this year, right? 6th. November 7th is Election Day.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you for joining us on the County Seat. We'll look for you next time. Remember, county government is where your life happens. Be part of the solution on the County Seat. We'll see you.